Hello and welcome everyone to Future Jobs. This segment of Future Jobs is going to be about manufacturing, and we have our three lovely panelists here. If you could just give a wave so that everyone knows whenever we're talking about you. Judy Schaefer is the president at ESSG. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you.
Next, we have Nate Broaddus, the Catalyst Connection Workforce Specialist.
Hello.
And then finally, we have Sean Sullivan, the Managing Director of the Arconic Technology Center.
Hi.
Okay, so we want to get started just by explaining how you guys have entered manufacturing. What is it that you guys do? Judy, if you could start us off.
Sure. I entered manufacturing right out of college. I studied mathematics and I applied for a position that was called a statistical process control, a statistical quality assurance statistician, I guess really was the title. Because of my interest in mathematics, I applied for the position, and it was in manufacturing, heavy metals, with a company based in Pittsburgh. And I fell in love with manufacturing. I liked the diversity of it. Every day you did something new and different. And then about 1993, I started with Elwood Group and again, quality assurance, and had the opportunity to work in a variety of different departments, wear multiple hats, quality, sales, operations, and that's eventually led me 27 years later to this position, and I oversee our Elwood Specialty Steel Group. We sell a lot of specialty tool and mold steel, and that's both steel and aluminum now, and I've been here for 2 years, and I oversee 5 divisions within 3 countries, and it's been a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Nate.
Sure, I'm kind of laughing over here because I would say that prior to coming into this role, I was actually pretty ignorant of the manufacturing world and a lot of the careers that it had to offer. In my day job, what I do is I connect with job seekers, I connect with companies, and I connect with community groups, and I work to create new streams of talent to the manufacturing industry. So I come from a workforce development, job development background, and in my time doing that work, what I saw was I was getting a lot of folks who had great manufacturing skills or previous manufacturing careers. And I was always interested in learning ways that I could better serve those folks. And, every day I learn about some new interesting career. I learn about, SPS and a lot of the interesting stuff that's happening over there at ESSG and, all the amazing things at Arconic. And it's really cool just to get my mind blown every day. And then also get to, relate how exciting and amazing the careers in manufacturing are to a new audience of folks who may have previously been unaware.
Great. I love it. We already have 2 separate backgrounds coming into the same umbrella of a subject. And last but not least.
Yeah, thanks. I got into manufacturing really straight out of my graduate school program. After I'd done my PhD, I was left with the decision of go into academia and do research in the chemical industry, or shift gears and go into doing something in private industry. And I decided at that time, I was really most looking forward to actually doing something that could create, business value or an impact. And so I chose a career at the time at what was the Alcoa Technical Center, now the Arconic Technology Center. And started out as an engineer, really cut my teeth on developing new innovative surface treatments and coatings. And after I did that on the research and development side for a few years, I decided, as a company, we were really a manufacturing company, and what better way to learn the business than to actually go into the operation side of the business. And so I spent a couple years at our Cleveland operations, actually working as a process engineer, doing capital installations, helping with control of the manufacturing lines. And what really happened then, I think, was that really created and drove the spark that I have for solving very difficult challenges. And over the last 10 years, I've really spent my career going in different roles and different opportunities, to where now I'm responsible for setting the strategy for research and development and helping to come up with what's going to be the next evolution of products that are going to really stand us out from our competitors. And That can work not only on the product side, but also on the process side, where we have to develop new breakthrough innovations, whether it's automation or smart manufacturing methodologies to help us produce our product faster, cheaper, and at a higher quality than everybody else. So I think those challenges are really what keeps me excited and really enthusiastic about what I do every day. So.
You actually just led perfectly right into my next question, Sean. So I'm going to throw it right back to you. You all chose manufacturing, but why did you stay?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always been a pretty curious individual. And it's really always, it's the next challenge. I continue to be here. I work with great people, really, really smart people. I have, more than probably 60, 70% of my location all have PhDs. So we get to engage at a very high intellectual level, as well as, tackle some of the most difficult problems in our industry. And as long as that's there, it'll be pretty hard for me to leave it. There's a lot of opportunity to not only impact our company, but also impact a lot of the products that you're used to and you see across the markets today. It can be cars from Ford, GM, Nissan. It can be airplanes that you're flying on. Seeing your product make it to those kind of platforms and knowing that you're having an impact, I think that really for me is what keeps me here.
Judy, if you want to answer now.
Sure, very similar to what Sean just shared. I've had the opportunity to work, again, it's back to the diversity that we get to experience in manufacturing. I've had the privilege of working with different suppliers, customers, the operations teams, the sales teams. It's just, as Sean alludes to, the people that I've had the experience to develop relationships with and solve problems with over the years, really is what kind of keeps me going. And a lot of people say, well, Judy, you've been in working with Elwood for 27 years. Is that a bit stale? And I have to say, absolutely not. We've got new products that we've developed. We've got new machine technology that we're using now. It's just so many different things. And the tooling that we use now in machining is significantly more advanced. So it's constantly new problems to solve, new customers, new equipment, new people that we meet, and that's what keeps me engaged for this long.
Every day is different.
Yes.
And lastly?
Sure. So I guess I have to echo what I said at first, and also what Judy and Sean said is that, every day I come to work, I kind of get to see something brand new and get my mind blown. And that's really exciting to me. Like, from someone who is coming from a non-manufacturing background, like, it's really amazing just to get in the room and see what these folks do at work every day and to see some of the technology that's coming to bear. But also in my role, I get to connect with some of the most amazing people that we have in our region. It really, like, my initial goal was to go out and connect with people who had never considered manufacturing before and talk to them about manufacturing careers and what they had to offer. And you find quite a few people who are incredibly talented, incredibly skilled, but may be missing one or two pieces that are keeping them from connecting with a career in manufacturing. And I've seen people go from from careers that they didn't find value in to now these folks are showing up to work and they build robots every day, or they're doing things that just really bring them value and bring family sustaining wages into their households. So to me, like, that's what keeps me here. And I think that there's just so much potential in the Pittsburgh region, in southwestern Pennsylvania in general. And I just want to keep on making sure that everybody knows what's out there, and that we can, we over at Catalyst Connection can be a resource to connect them to those opportunities.
I think that's so important. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Judy. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to follow up on something Nate said. I don't think people understand what's in their own backyard and what goes on, like the amazing things we do from a manufacturing perspective. And if there was a way we could find to just open up our doors so they could peek in and see, the forgings that are produced. I know, Sean, your facility produces forgings. If you've never seen hot metal be forged, that's just something that's, the the geometry that we forge, the applications, as Sean mentioned, you know, whether it be aerospace or automotive. I just wish there was a way for people to be able to peek inside and see the amazing things that get done every day in just their local communities.
I feel like that's what Nate is trying to do, is trying to introduce people to,
Mhm.
you know, this is manufacturing, and I didn't even know what it was or what I could do in it whenever I first arrived. And that's exactly what I was going to say, Judy, was it's very neat that you get to connect people the same way that you were able to connect Nate to the industry without even knowing. So to continue actually onto that, I'm going to switch around because we seem to be on this path. If someone is interested, or maybe someone's not interested, how would they get started in a field like manufacturing, not knowing where to begin? And I'm going to actually maybe throw it to Nate first, since you do introduce people to different things.
Oh, the ball's in my court. Okay, this is definitely my wheelhouse. So the first thing I would say is that if you're watching this, and maybe you're an adult job seeker who is currently working, and you want to figure out what your other options are, or maybe you're a recent high school graduate who's trying to figure out like, what should I be doing. I think that one of the biggest things that people don't talk about is the challenge of being a 18-year-old high school graduate who doesn't have a plan, right? Like, I was that guy. I didn't have a plan. And I think that there's a lot of things that manufacturing has to offer both groups. So what I would say is that the first thing folks should do is head to our website, makingyourfuture.org. Makingyourfuture.org. Head over to the career counseling tab. You'll scroll down, you'll see my handsome face right there. And there's a form you'll fill out. It's very short. It comes directly to me. I will personally reach out and contact you, and we can help figure out what that journey looks like for you and what that means. So we have a lot of different training available, whether it's for the past year, we've been offering cost-free welding and machinist training. We have, a more generalist pre-employment training for people who are interested in more entry-level positions. But really, like, my goal is to figure out like what's going to work for you, what opportunity is going to be best for your skill set. Is manufacturing the right thing for you? Because I encounter awesome, wonderful, amazing job seekers every day for whom, manufacturing might not be the right thing for them. Assembly might not be the right thing for them, but every manufacturing company also has administrative assistants and also has graphic designers and has people who work in a variety of other spaces that I'm sure Judy and Sean can talk about, as well. But that's the one thing. And now, on the other hand, I also, if you're a parent or a responsible adult who with young people like working with their hands, folks who like to take things apart and put them back together. We have a website for you as well called explorenewmfg.org. Explorenewmfg.org. And that's just a website where we house a lot of our curriculum for K through 12 students. There's career panels and videos and a ton of content. We actually have 2 video games that we produce to kind of give folks an introduction to machining and to general technical aptitude type of stuff. And then lastly, something that Judy made me think of, we actually have a video contest that we do called the What's So Cool About Manufacturing video contest. So if you head to the website, it's called what'ssocool.org. And this video contest has actually engaged half of all the middle schools across Pennsylvania. And it's 7th grader, we send 7th graders out to local manufacturing companies to make 2 to 3 minute videos about, what do they do with this company? What are the things that they make? What sort of careers are involved in working here? And it's really powerful. It allows, young people to talk to other young people about the things that we're talking about here that, we're not always great at connecting with young people about and speaking their language. So, I think those are a couple of tools. And, but really generally, I would say that Catalyst Connection is someone who, we want to be a resource for those in the region who are looking for careers in manufacturing.
Nate, you said something very important, and that's that manufacturing doesn't just have all of these different avenues that you can take, but you can also be any age, and you can start at any time. And I think that that is a big theme we have in future jobs, which is it's not too late. It's never too late to start a new career or take a new path. And I just want to thank you for saying that, because you led them right down that path.
Well, Addie, can I just give an anecdote real quick? So one of the best stories that I always tell is that I had a local robotics company that reached out to me, and they said they were looking for someone in their additive manufacturing department. So like I said, I was pretty ignorant of it, of manufacturing. So I'm like, what the heck's additive manufacturing? They're like, it's the industry term for 3D printing. I'm like, oh, why don't you guys just say that? Right. So so I had a young lady that I was working with who said she was interested in careers in manufacturing, but she didn't really, know where to start. And so the conversation kind of died as the pandemic started, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to recalibrate what we were doing. And she happened to add me on Facebook, right? So I'm scrolling down Facebook one night, and I see the same young lady playing with a 3D printer. So I'm like, oh, like tell me more about this. She was like, well, right now I'm working as a nursing assistant. I have 3 kids. I'm going to college full time, but my kids are always in front of the TV playing video games. I needed something to get them away from the video game. So I bought a 3D printer, and I said, we're going to go on YouTube and learn how to use this. To this day, this young woman builds robots for a living. You know what I mean? And it was just like, she was later in her career. She was completely considering doing something else. But one of the things that I always tell folks is that if you're interested in any of this stuff, one of the best skills that you can have is being a lifelong learner. Right. So with that, yeah, I'll kick it to whoever's. I think I talked to them.
Yeah, well, Sean said, he said that, his curiosity drove him to continue to find new things and do new things. But I do kind of want to steer in a direction of, what if I am a student and I know that going to Penn State is my dream, whether I make it or not, I'm going to Penn State. What is something that I could study that could leave me here, or a route I could take at a university, college, community college level? That could go to either of you, Judy or Sean.
Sean, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I would start out saying, I think Nate kind of hit this, is, inside of any manufacturing company, there are numerous roles that require numerous and varied backgrounds. So whether it's an engineering background or a science background, if you wanted to study, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, material science and engineering, at Arconic, we always have lots and lots of roles for engineers because we're a materials company that's always developing new alloys, new materials, and new products to supply our customers. But at the same time, we also have finance, we have sales, we have operators and management. So there is a whole host of roles that can tie into manufacturing. I don't think that there has to be any one discipline. You could get an MBA, you can go into HR or to logistics. There is a pretty large open pathway to enter into the manufacturing industry. So I think it really comes down to, and I think Nate kind of hit it, is, I would actually encourage people to go out and look at some manufacturing companies and look at their job postings and just read it and try to understand what are the types of skills that they may be looking for there, and what do you find the most interesting, and then see what their educational backgrounds might be requiring, whether it's electrical engineering or something like that. Then you have a sense of at least the types of educational requirements will be needed in order to pursue those kinds of careers. So at least it gives you a little bit of a compass on which way you might want to go in a very early career level. And then lastly, I would just say, talk to as many people as you can who you might know that are in those fields. Reach out to them. I've had people reach out to me through LinkedIn to ask me about my career and how I got to where I am. And I always try to do my best to respond to those folks. My viewpoint is those may be the next Arconic employees that we hire. And so I want to share my story the best I can and how I got to where I am, to see if I can inspire somebody to potentially join part of our company. So that's how I would respond, to which overall educational path.
I echo what Sean said. I would encourage people to go on Indeed or other job sites. I've got young children that are just getting into the workforce or still trying to figure out what they want to do in college in terms of what field of study, and that's exactly the advice that I've given them. But the only other thing I would add is I don't think that once you start on that career path that you have to feel like that will be what you do for your next 30 years. I think it's really important to know you're going to get your foot in the door and learn everything that you can about that company. You know, have exposure to all of the different fields that Sean's just mentioned. Now, for sure, some of them are very technical. We've got a lot of metallurgists. You are going to have to go to school for metallurgy if that's what you want to do for our organization. But I've had the ability, just because you want to learn, you're curious. If you are willing to try and tackle problems, you will always have a career, no matter what field you study. And so be involved, ask a lot of questions, volunteer, but don't think that if you've decided, hey, I think I'm going to be in logistics, that you couldn't pivot and go into supply chain. Or, you know, I'm somewhat biased towards quality. I entered into manufacturing quality. What I liked about quality, which you don't have to have a particular degree, there's many degrees that could lead you into that field, although I know some schools have metrology degrees, but you are exposed to vendors, products, customers, all kinds of things if you learn all about the processes. So I guess that would be my last piece of advice, is don't think that once you start down one career path that that's where you have to retire from.
That's a perfect, I think, summary of it all, is that, you know, you don't ever have to have a definitive answer right away. Like Nate said, you know, at 18, you're coming out of high school and you're like, okay, what do I do now? No need to fear. There are options, and you can always start then or start later. Speaking of starting and changing and growing, and you say, you know, everything's changing, how has your position or how has your company changed in the past 5 years? Let's throw it on over to Judy. I know you just spoke, but we'll go again.
Sure. I think technology has significantly changed. We've got, you know, the part geometry that we manufacture becomes more and more complex. So you need tighter tolerances, you need better finishes, and so the way to achieve that is through new machine tools, new cutting tools, new processes. So I think technology has significantly changed for sure over the last 25 years, but even in the last 5 years, it's amazing how quickly things change, and you have to be willing to adapt. And that's where, you know, I think that, again, you might be a machinist and you've learned that trade, but now you have the opportunity to take that knowledge and adapt it to an entirely different, maybe 5-axis turn mill machine. And how exciting that is to see people embrace that and learn that new technology. So I think that's predominantly the biggest change, just the technology that we see in our different processes and equipment that we use.
I like how you can easily exchange the word change for learn. And you
Yes.
said, you know, like
Yes.
just something is changing, you can learn.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's something new, you know, to learn. People get excited when we put in a new machine tool. You know, can I run that? Can I be part of that? It's, you know, it's great.
Awesome. Nate, do you want to take it next?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Can you ask me the question one more time?
Yes. How has your position or your company
Yeah.
changed in the past 5 years?
Right. So I would say that the biggest challenge that we faced over the last few years has really been the pandemic. And we've really just had to, you know, shift the way that we're looking to do things. Like I said, like one of the cool things, and I'll harken back to the story of the young lady that I was just telling you about. This same young lady, prior to the pandemic, we would meet up like once a week. We would talk about careers in manufacturing. We'd talk about, you know, ways that you could go and get some skills or some training. And then when the pandemic hit, it became impossible for us to do that. So what it would, and I had a caseload of maybe 40 people at that time. So I'm just shooting out email blasts to people. And I don't know if you guys ever tried to get responses from an email blast, but you know, it doesn't really, it doesn't go that great when you're shooting it out to 40 people, right? So, but I noticed that this young lady was the only person who was doing every single activity that I sent out. So I was like, man, like, you know, like that takes a special type of person to be doing every single thing. So that was really one of the biggest things, is trying to alter and shift the way that we do business, especially because we, you know, we're looking to do business virtually and connecting with job seekers and folks who are maybe looking to change careers. One thing you run into is that and we learned this, when the schools at the beginning of the pandemic, is that access to the computers and the internet isn't as widespread as we'd like it to be. And so there's a lot of folks who, we would love to be able to serve, and we would love to, be able to take advantage of what we're putting out there. But so we have to figure out better ways to attack, and better ways to attack that problem and to serve those groups. So that's been the one major thing, is just figuring out how to recalibrate after the pandemic. And I actually haven't been here 5 years, but my within the last year, the other thing we've been working on is developing our strategy related to diversity, equity, and inclusion for the manufacturing industry. As we're working to, help people from backgrounds that have never been able to engage in manufacturing careers before, we also want to make sure that we're assisting our manufacturing clients in receiving these folks, you know what I mean? So that we can make sure that it's a awesome, equitable, positive work environment for everybody, that can ultimately be productive and, for everybody involved.
You want to make sure that everyone can come in and perform to their fullest extent. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I want people to be able to also, feel that reward of, going to a job that you value and that values you as well, right?
Right. Values you as well. That's the key. That's the key. And Sean?
Yeah, so I would say something very similar to what Judy said. I mean, I think at least at Arconic, probably some of the biggest changes that we've seen have really come around the advanced manufacturing side of things, both in terms of automation. It could be physical automation, digital automation, modeling, the use of computers and how quickly we can model now, and model some pretty amazing, sophisticated physics problems that you just could never have done, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You wouldn't even have been able to think about doing it unless you had access to supercomputers. And a lot of that has even changed. So I think continuing to see the progression of advanced manufacturing is definitely one of the big changes. The other one that I would say that we've seen, and it's really coming more and more just in the last year, has been the focus on sustainability. Not only the sustainability of our own products, what we're producing day in and day out. I mean, that's sort of core to our DNA as an aluminum company. We have an infinitely recyclable metal, right? So, we've always been looking at how to utilize that to the best of our ability. But what we now are seeing is a more global impact to sustainability, both from our suppliers as well as our customers in terms of what they need for sustainability. So looking at how do they reduce their overall carbon footprint? How do they start to leverage more renewable energies? And I think gone are the days of manufacturing being a very dirty industry, as it now progresses to being a much more clean industry. And so I think that's something that certainly inside of Arconic, we're continuing to focus on. How do we improve that sustainability in our own products and our own processes, as well as within our entire supply chain, from cradle to grave, to see that we actually are doing our part to give back to the communities that we're a part of.
That was so informative. I feel like, again, that word, I may have said change in the original question, but what it does sound like is the world is learning. We as companies are learning. Everyone is learning and adapting and wanting to be better as a company, as a person, as a coworker. And it just sounds so hopeful as someone coming into the industry. And speaking of people coming into the industry, I do want to ask what advice you would give, because I know that some of you mentioned you may have switched jobs multiple times. You may not have known that you were going to end up where you are today. And I just want to know what advice you would give if a student was watching this in a classroom. And I will give it to, it's like a drum roll now. Who am I going to give it to? Ladies first. Judy, would you take it away?
Sure. I think that, if you don't know at age 18 what you want to do, but you're interested in manufacturing, I would encourage you to reach out to some of the local manufacturers in your area. If somebody reached out to us, we'd be happy to take them on a tour to just show them. I mean, I think we talk about manufacturing Sean mentioned about it's perceived sometimes to be dirty. I think even the environment sometimes is perceived to be dirty, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. There's aspects of it, but I would encourage somebody that's in high school to reach out to any local manufacturers and ask if they could come in, if they offer plant tours, if they do it through their high school, and if not, just maybe some one-on-one tours to come in and actually get a sense of what that looks like and what are the different positions. I would encourage them to go on websites. A lot of times companies will have videos of the products that they manufacture or the processes that they use, and just learn as much as they can. But when you have that in your local area, take advantage of it and go and see it firsthand.
There's nothing like that one-on-one conversation, talking to someone. I think that's how Bring Your Kid to Work Day even got started.
Yes.
Bring your kid to work, show them hands-on what you're doing. It's a great way to learn.
I think it's intimidating for a young person to reach out and call. They think, oh, I'm going to bother that person. But again, as Sean mentioned, people reaching out to him on LinkedIn, we would welcome that. I mean, we look at those as future potential employees and team members. So we would welcome that. And I would start with the HR department, probably, if you don't know anybody else to reach out to.
Thank you. Sean.
Yeah, I think I said it earlier, ask lots of questions. I mean, I think, the key is really to figuring out what you want to do. It doesn't have to happen in one day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. It's a process, and continuing to ask questions, always remaining curious. I think one of the things that I have always tried to do is to always advance my own learning aptitude, right? Always be trying to learn something new for the day. And, I think if you're starting out and you're really unsure of what you want to do, I would just start asking those questions. They say it often, right? When you're in school and you're coming through yourself, there's no dumb question out there, right? There really isn't, especially when you're asking from a place of curiosity. I think anybody who's in the field would want to share those stories and help people to advance, because and I think we'll get to this probably later, hopefully. One of the challenges we have in manufacturing is attracting new talent, and so we're open to that. We want to try to inspire the next wave of engineers, the next wave of folks who can lead robotics and automation into the plant floors, helping them to really identify what makes them tick on a day-to-day basis. That's what it's all about. So I would just say ask a lot of questions, network. If you have the chance, maybe take an internship. We do have an internship program. If you can do an internship, it's a great way to get a 6 to 12 week kind of exposure to, hey, what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So if you have that opportunity, I would absolutely do an internship, and then figure out, what it is that you really like to do, and keep in mind that there's a lot of different roles inside of a manufacturing company. It's not just engineering. It's not just operations. It's also sales. It's also logistics. It's also management, accounting, legal. There's a whole team of folks that make these companies work. And so finding where your niche is just part of that journey.
I think I want to just echo the internship opportunity. And I don't know if you can be a certain age, if you have to be a certain age, I guess I should say, to do an internship. I know that's where I learned maybe what I did want to do, maybe what I didn't want to do. Whether you learn one or the other, it's good to get hands-on experience, right?
And sometimes, just adding to that, some companies may not have internships in areas that you're interested, but they have a summer labor position. And hey, there's no harm in that. You can get your foot in the door. You can network with people at that company, even if it's a summer labor type position. So a lot of companies will have those available as well, if not internships.
And Nate?
Yeah, so I just want to piggyback on what Sean was saying, and I think that it's just really important to be a continuous learner, continually be adding to your toolbox. The one thing about manufacturing is that we're currently in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, right? I'm sure that that Judy and Sean are familiar with all of that, and so even right now, as we're having this conversation, the technologies that we all work with are zooming ahead of us. Right. So as long as you're that person who's just constantly learning something new, constantly adding to your toolbox, I think that, that's the way to be preparing your mind for whatever might come next. And then also, we were talking about, the various roles that are available inside a manufacturing company. I think that, we also don't talk about the need for people who have those tradesman skills to work inside various manufacturing companies. And the each company will have different requirements, but all of those skills are very valuable. And I've met people who, I had a guy who was a 35-year journeyman electrician who's like, I don't want to work construction anymore. Well, guess what? Those 35 years of electrician skills will be valuable in a manufacturing facility. Somebody will value that. So, just staying flexible, and then, keeping that value of being a continuous learner, I think, are two important keys.
Thank you. And I do want to go back because Sean, you mentioned one of the challenges in the industry in manufacturing, and I just want to hit on that again. What challenges do you face or may you face, and how are you overcoming those? Nate.
Sure. So I'm actually going to follow this up with a question to Judy, but
You could be the moderator. Pass it off to her.
Yeah. But connecting with job seekers is probably one of our biggest challenges. There's just a lot of just socioeconomic issues that exist in society right now, related to 2021, that are affecting the way that job seekers are engaging with employers and the way that employers are engaging with job seekers and all of that. But also, like, one of the biggest things is there's just a general unawareness of manufacturing careers for a lot of folks. So like one of the jobs that we talk about very often at Catalyst is machining. And, so I go out and I'm talking about machining careers, and the question I always get was like, all right, but like, what is machining? And you know what I mean? And then explaining to someone very vaguely isn't really like going to get them to go and, pursue that as a career, right? So like, I think that we have a long way to go, for exposing the folks that we want to get into these careers to these careers. My question to Judy was that, as a woman in manufacturing, as I engage a lot of young ladies, I often run into the mindset that, that manufacturing might not necessarily be a career for women. But that being said, in doing the work that I do, I encounter women that work in manufacturing in all sorts of different roles every day. So I was wondering if you could kind of speak on, being a woman in manufacturing and what that means, and any advice that you'd specifically have for other young ladies.
Sure. I think, again, that people think that that is not an environment that would be suited for them. And there's just this perception of an environment that they've not even ever seen. So for me, in manufacturing, I immediately loved it because I like the folks that I worked with. We had a lot of machinists that, I'll tell you what, if you could put together your dream team, many of those folks would be on that team for me, because some of the brightest, smartest, and the get it done attitude in manufacturing is just, for me, I love it. And I don't know that that doesn't exist in other industries, but it absolutely exists in manufacturing. And seeing people, you put a challenge in front of them and they just go at it. But I've never, Nate, had any issues being female in manufacturing. I never felt that anybody didn't welcome me, didn't treat me, that I was treated differently, that I wasn't given the same considerations. And I don't know how to bridge that sometimes, because we don't have enough females in manufacturing, even in our particular, facilities. And it's not for lack of want. It's just, they're not applying. I don't know how to reach them. Quick story, I went to a local high school that my children went to, and we're signed up for career day, and I think that the lady who was putting it together put down plant management as what I was going to speak to. So you're in a classroom, and about 30 young people show up to this classroom, and I'm starting to talk about machining and drafting and modeling and CAD/CAM and all these different things, and they're just looking at me with this very blank look on their face. And I found out afterwards they thought plant management was like nursery, like plants, growing plants and selling flowers. And I thought, oh my goodness, we're such a long way off. So how do we reach more, people, not just females, but, young gentlemen in manufacturing to really understand what that environment looks like? And I think you have so much media these days that if you could get them on a website that sees some of the things that we manufacturing, machining is like one of my favorite. There's so much that goes into machining from an engineering perspective with tooling and, processes and programming. It's really exciting, and absolutely it'd be a great field for a young woman. And I can just speak from my experience and many of the women I've worked with over the years, whether it be in sales, metallurgy, machining, in all fields, quality, they enjoy it. They really enjoy it, and it's a higher paying job than sometimes that they may find in other industries.
Thank you for your question, Nate. I really appreciate it, because it's also something that I was curious about too. You read manufacturing and you picture someone like pulling a lever and then pushing something down, down a machine way, but that's just not true. That's just judging the book by its cover rather than, actually diving in and seeing what it's all about. Sean, do you want to reiterate or continue with what you saw as being a challenge?
Yeah, I think, for us, I think we have a couple really big challenges out there, but maybe I'll phrase it slightly differently. I'll flip it and say it's not just a big challenge. I think it's also a great opportunity for us, which is, we as a company, we represent and support some of the most recognizable brands across the earth, in large major markets, automotive, aerospace, industrial. And as a material supplier, what you learn is that those customers, they're always striving. They're in a continuous pursuit of something greater, right? The product's always getting better. We're moving from, combustion engines to electric vehicles. We're making planes that can fly farther with less fuel. They're always expanding on how to improve their products to differentiate themselves into the consumer market. And what that really does is it challenges us as a material supplier to say, how do we continuously innovate? How do we come up with higher performing materials, new products that avoid, in essence, commoditization? And I think, one of our biggest challenges is that we always have to stay innovative. We always have to be out on that leading edge, trying to look at what's coming next. How do we solve these really challenging, requirements that these new designs are going to need? And really the answer to that is, and this is probably our next big challenge, is it's about recruiting and onboarding the right talent, right? You've got to have the right people with the right skills, the right know-how, the right drive, the right work ethic that really want to come in and tackle these very difficult things. And I've said it a couple times, and are really curious, right? They really want to keep asking the next question, because that's how you innovate. You have to always be looking at the adjacencies and asking questions about why something is the way it is. And then that, if you ask it enough times, will lead you down a path to the next greatest material, or the next highest performance material that we can then turn around into a new product. So I think our challenges really revolve around, recruiting and onboarding those skills, and then capturing the value that people bring to a company, right? I mean, people are what make companies successful. Their ideas, their creativity, their knowledge, and applying all of that in a way that delivers an impact. That's what we really need, and that's what we're seeking out there. So, I mentioned going out and looking at our website and the roles. You'll see Arconic is in a pretty big growth. We're gaining right now in terms of our growth over year, and we're continuing to see that take shape over the next several years. And we're going to need more talent to help us on that, so that we can capture all of that for our business. So I think that's where our biggest challenges are, and the kinds of things that we're trying to do to really capture what those challenges present as an opportunity.
I love that. And Sean meet Nate, Nate meet Sean. Maybe you guys can set people up and set them on their merry way. I'm happy that this conversation happened. And Judy, I do want to go back to you and just ask if you had anything else to add to your challenges, because I know that I totally skipped over you answering.
No, and it's been well covered. I mean, I think that, as Sean mentioned, it's recruitment and retention. And I think that it is, in our case, and then I think in Arconic's case, it is a very technical skill set at times that we're looking for. And the pipeline of people, the folks that are retiring, the trade skills that we have that have been learned over many, many years, machinists, maintenance, forging operators. I mean, there's a lot of significant trade skills that are involved there, and those folks are retiring and they're taking that knowledge with them. And there's not a lot of pipeline for people coming into that industry to transition that knowledge over. And so that's a concern for us, the shortage of people in the pipeline that are willing to learn those trade skills.
Well, you guys were great representatives to talk about why people should enter. Nate, I don't want to cut you off. I saw that maybe you wanted to say
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that just to piggyback on what Judy was saying, that I do generally feel that there's some unawareness of what machining is as a career. I feel like that's a great way just to kind of get your feet wet in manufacturing, get your feet in the door, and then like Judy and Sean were saying, all of these jobs have pretty diverse career pathways that you can go along once you get in there. Pittsburgh in general, southwestern Pennsylvania, is one of the best regions in the area to get free machinist training. You can go and get training in that for 100% free. If I gave the website out, you can reach out to me and I can connect with it at makingyourfuture.org. But also, I just dropped a link in the chat for a video that we made, because we were like, wait a second, nobody knows what machining is. We should make a video about it. So there's like a short video, and that I dropped a link in the chat that I think might be beneficial to somebody.
That's great. And Nate, if there's ever any opportunity that I could be involved, I worked at our crankshaft group, which was precision machining for 21 years, and I could set you up with some resources of folks that would enjoy being able to share that knowledge and understanding of what machining looks like today.
Oh, that's awesome. Appreciate it. Definitely. I'll be in touch.
Yes.
I love it. I feel like maybe we've just started a book club and maybe we need to meet every week and talk about it. I also saw that link and I'm definitely going to watch it because I'm curious about what machining is, because you have, like I said, these, misconceptions of what the industry may be versus what it actually is. And I thank you guys all for being here today and for saying how to get started, what you're doing, what the challenges are, and what you would like to see. I know that Nate, you touched on a little bit of what you would like to see and what we need to keep seeing, and Sean and Judy as well. And so I just thank you very much. And hopefully students watching this, adults who are trying to switch career paths watching this, they will be greatly appreciative of all of the help that you three have been able to give to them. And I will put that link with wherever this video may go so that those educators will also have it too, just to get started and be able to start over, start fresh, or start somewhere that you may not have known you could start. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edison.
Thank you.